I want to talk about what happens when you die. What is the most likely outcome of the afterlife? It's pretty simple to explain. So, death is the absence of senses. You no longer have the ability to make decisions. You don't have free will. So you lose all the senses as you know it. It's like before you were born. So, you don't have any memory of that. You weren't making any decisions. That's just how it is. It's kind of like falling asleep, being in a coma. So, if there were to be some kind of reincarnation somehow, whatever you're made of and whatever is the seed of your consciousness, if that were to be reincarnated in another body, okay, maybe the senses would be different. Okay, for example, some animals don't have eyes and stuff like that. So, but to say that you're going to experience any kind of senses and memory and free will after death, it would be some kind of reincarnation. And the transition from being dead to, from being in this life to dying and being in the next life would be instantaneous, because, it's just like when you fall asleep or if you go into a coma, you go from being awake to falling asleep and being awake instantaneously. Unless there's some kind of dream in between, which is brain activity and kind of a hallucinatory thing. It's a conscious experience. Like you make decisions in your dream, stuff like that. So it would happen instantaneously, the reincarnation. Is it likely, well, you wouldn't have memory. Okay, your brain, your neural networks would be destroyed. So, if we were to have some kind of existence before we came into this body, obviously we don't have memory of that. I know people lie and say that they do have memory of it. They're just trying to get attention with, something they can't prove, making these statements. So we don't have memory of any previous experience. Death is the absence of senses, the absence of the ability to control. So yeah, most likely you're just going to be senseless forever. To say that there's some kind of rudimentary consciousness even when your body breaks down, that we were experiencing some kind of rudimentary consciousness before we became conscious in this form, you weren't. Okay, you weren't conscious. You don't have memory of it. So, we're probably just going to be senseless for eternity. As far as any kind of punishment at death, well, you don't want your last moment to be wasted as an evil person. So, you don't want to be punishing yourself in your last moment, like experiencing basically death itself as a lonely, evil person at your last moment. The thing that is scary about death is we can no longer experience fellowship with people. There's no more love. We can't communicate with people. We can't sense any other conscious beings that have free will and the capability to try to protect our ability to sense them and, communicate and stuff. So the thing that you fear about death is loneliness. So don't be lonely while you're alive. Don't waste your last moment as a lonely, evil person. Will we be reincarnated? I don't know how to explain to you that it's impossible. And I could assume how it would happen, how that passage of time would happen, and, that we probably wouldn't have any memory. Yeah, those are basically the only likely outcomes for death and the afterlife. Eternal senselessness, or some kind of reincarnation somehow that just, happens in an instant, basically. And all these religions, the claims to know what God is, what the afterlife is based on what their God told them, stuff like that. Being certain of there being a creator or not. And so this stuff is usually not grounded in logic. The major religions are all false, okay, totally contradictory within themselves, unscientific, immoral. Don't be so enticed by their description of the afterlife that you adhere to them telling you to just have this stubborn faith and, be wicked with them. They'll tell you that it's good, but it's wicked. So don't, be enticed by whatever they're saying that you're going to gain and acting like it's your only hope. And, you might as well just have this leap of faith. Okay, that's just nonsense. All right, even if the afterlife is eternal senselessness, you don't want to waste your time being alive as an evil person. And that is being evil. Being stubborn like that, doing horrible things, being dishonest, that's just being lonely. Nobody likes you. You're basically already dead. You're not experiencing fellowship, which is the whole purpose of being alive. So you're just wasting your experience of love engaging in these religions that are trying to entice you with some false representation of a reward at death and some kind of eternal happy life. So yeah, if there is going to be some kind of reward after death, the only way to gain it is by behaving properly. And you're not behaving properly if you're taking these stubborn leaps of faith in these things that are objectively contradictory, just based on the definition of the language that in the statements that are being made, as well as the history and the science and all this stuff, the logic behind the morality. So, if you want a reward, be honest, be loving. Probably eternal senselessness. I wouldn't be afraid of it. I would just enjoy life as you have it. If there is any kind of memory somehow, or like any kind of sense of your previous character somehow, or like remnant of your effects on the universe that you can experience as a, destroyed body. You want to have behaved as a good person and have experienced love. If there is any kind of way to communicate with others while we're dead, you want to have shown them, integrity and like nobility and stuff.